Then also, I have to do the research at home and know everything that is up to date with her disease and how then to advocate for her at the doctor's office. So, when it comes to advocating for your loved one, I always say it's not just being there in person with your loved one. I always say that it's doing the work at home because maybe they can't do the research anymore for themselves. Maybe they just don't have the bandwidth. Maybe they just don't have the ability to. I don't know what it is, but doing it at home, making yourself as knowledgeable as possible about what is going on with your loved one is, I feel, some of the most important things you could do for them. Hi, everyone. I'm Lexi Calise. Do you feel the squeeze of caring for an elderly loved one and school-aged children? Then welcome to the Sandwich Stories. Let's dig in. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Sandwich Stories. Today, we're going to be talking about being an advocate. Being an advocate is something that I do on a daily basis. I help with my mother, my husband, and my son. Sometimes I do advocate for myself, which is not always easy to do, but I do it when I need to. So, with that being said, I am the advocate for my mom. So, I go to every single doctor's appointment with her. I drive her there. I make sure I know every single medication she takes. I know everybody who works at her assisted living facility. I have their phone numbers. I know who the nurses are who give out meds. I try to really become friends with caretakers because all of this for my mother is being an advocate. My mom could not tell you one medication she's on, besides maybe a multivitamin. So, with that said, every time I go to the doctor's appointments with her, I have to always give what medication she's on, how much is the dosage, how many times a day. And right now, my mom is probably on, including multivitamins, I would say 7 to 8 medications. We just recently cut 2 out, so that lessened some. But that's a lot to keep track of. Then also, I have to do the research at home and know everything that is up to date with her disease and how then to advocate for her at the doctor's office. So, when it comes to advocating for your loved one, I always say it's not just being there in person with your loved one. I always say that it's doing the work at home because maybe they can't do the research anymore for themselves. Maybe they just don't have the bandwidth. Maybe they just don't have the ability to. I don't know what it is, but doing it at home, making yourself as knowledgeable as possible about what is going on with your loved one is, I feel, some of the most important things you could do for them. So, with my mother's disease, I am always looking to see what the new things are that come down the pipeline with Parkinson's disease, then also MSA and any of the clinical trials that are going on around the country. My mother has been part of a few clinical trials, and we have done really well with them, but sadly, not all clinical trials go to an end. Sometimes the company who's doing them just might decide it's not worth it. It's not showing the results that they really want, and they just end it. And so then as a patient, you just kind of have to end with it, whether it was working for you or not, which is really sad. So I research a lot. I probably know just about as much about this disease that my mother has, like I've said before, which is multiple systems atrophy with Parkinsonianisms, than some of her doctors do, because it's just what I need to know to help make her better and how to get all the best care for her. Because when she goes to assisted living, she has a rare disease that a lot of people haven't seen, so they really don't know what is going on, what is normal, what is not normal. So then I am also educating the people who work for the assisted living. So if we change medications, I have to advocate the medications and the dosages and changing dosages for my mother. I have to play nice with the nurses. Sometimes you have to be a little firm. You can't be too pushy, because if you're too pushy, then it's going to turn people off and they're just not going to want to help you. So there is a fine line between being pushy and being firm yet nice. So I've had to learn that. When my father was still alive, I was not his advocate so much. It was my mother's job at the time because he still lived with her. And I was too pushy. When it came to my dad, I was too pushy, but I was younger and I didn't live it every day and I didn't hone those skills yet. So now with my mom, I have become much better at it. I even was told by a nurse the other day at her assisted living, she even told me, she said, when you're being serious, you're still being so nice and they really appreciate it. So that is what I do every day as an advocate for my mom. I also advocate for my mom when it comes to her caretakers. That means the people who work at the assisted living, who help bathe her, who help get her dressed, all the things like that, that a nurse who takes care of medication doesn't normally do. But I do try to make their life easier. I label everything in her closet according to the boxes they're supposed to go to. So she has a box that says underwear, pajamas. My mother, sadly, because of her disease, has to wear pull-ups sometimes. And so I have a box that say pull-ups on them. And so I make sure that it is always fully stocked. They never go without. I buy extra equipment for her to make their job easier. So if she should need help at night, changing whatever that might be, I have been able to find equipment that helps make it easier to turn her. She is not a small lady, so I'm sure that it's easier to turn her when I find these products that help make their life better. And yet, if their life is better and easier to care for her, they're more willing to put in some extra work or some extra love, because I'm not making them work as hard as another patient's family might make them do, which sadly is the truth, whether it's right or wrong. My mom is always nice. She always tries to do her best. And that is why I always have to be the tough one. And that is why I have to be firm yet nice. I'm also the advocate for my husband. He was born with congenital cataracts. And for the longest time, he was told that there was nothing more they could do with his eyes, that he would just have to wear certain contacts and hope his eyesight doesn't get worse. Then, of course, like everything else, technology comes along, gets better, and he gets the word that he can have 2 cornea transplants and 2 lens implants. Because he was born with congenital cataracts, he has not originally had lenses in his eyes. They were removed when he was 3 and 4. So he's had to wear contacts his whole life to be his lens in his eyes, and was told if he did any surgeries later in life, he could go blind. So, of course, that scared him. But once we were married, and like I said, technology gets better, he got the word. We can do 2 lens implants and we can do 2 cornea transplants. So we did that. My husband gets very anxious when he goes to the doctor. There's always too much information. He is very much more a visual learner than an auditory learner. So it is hard for him to go to a doctor's office by himself. And of course, when it is your appointment, you have emotions that get in the way that make you not hear everything or forget to ask things. And it just makes life hard. So it's always best, regardless of your age, regardless of what is going on, have someone be there to be your advocate. Have the person there to have the questions that you need answered. So I am that person for him. Now, I cannot always go to every appointment. But then you say, what do you do? How can you be their advocate but not be at the appointment? Well, that means I'm on the phone. My husband goes to the eye appointment and it's always very early in the morning, a good 45 minutes away from our house, and I still have school drop off to do, so I can't always go. When he gets there and he gets into the second waiting room, because we all know that what that's like. We go to the big waiting room and we wait. And then we go to the little waiting room and we wait. And you wonder when the doctor's coming and you get frustrated, but then all of a sudden, poof, he's there. So we go together, but I am on the phone. So, Shannon, my husband, will wait, and then when the doctor comes in, he calls me, he puts me on speaker, I say hi to the doctor knows I'm there. We go through everything that's going on. I hear the whole entire exam that the doctor is doing, then I ask the questions. So once he is finished giving my husband his exam, doing anything that needs to go on, I ask any questions that my husband and I have talked about the night before, because there is no way that my husband would remember what we talked about or what to ask the doctor. So that is my job. And this is the best part, because of speakerphone, I can do this from anywhere. I can do it while I'm driving in the car after school drop off. I can do it on an appointment. I can do it on the way to an appointment with my mother. I can do it anywhere. So my husband does not have to worry about me missing out and for him missing out information. Because there have been plenty of times when I've brought things up later in our own conversations and I said, well, the doctor said X, Y, and Z. And my husband said, what are you talking about? He didn't say that at all. And I said, yes, he did. Here is what we discussed. And this is what happens. I know we've all gone to the doctor by ourselves and you leave and you're like, oh man, I had those 4 questions I forgot to ask. Well, when you have an advocate with you, and remember, it can be a friend, someone you trust, a family member, whomever it is, let them go with you, whether it's in person or over the phone or through Zoom, however you want to do it. Make sure that you have someone there who has the questions that you know you want to talk to the doctor about so that it doesn't get forgotten. Then I'm the advocate for my son. Now, advocating for a child is totally different. This is a parent's job. We know that. Children do not get to make decisions all the time when it comes to their health, and that is because they don't know all the information, and that's not their job. That's a parent's job. That is my job. So when I advocate for my son, it might be at school, it might be at the doctor's office, but I will always advocate for him. What does that look like? That looks like, obviously, me going to the doctor's office with him. When he goes to the pediatrician, I go into the pediatrician's office with him, even during well checks, because you should always have 1 or 2 other adults in the room with the pediatrician whenever you're doing an exam. That's just for safety. Secondly, when my son goes to the dentist or the orthodontist, we have chosen to pick a dentist and an orthodontist where parents are allowed to go in the back with their children. When we first started finding a dentist when my son was little, we found a dentist we liked. And as a parent, I was allowed to go in the back until my son was 3. After 3, they would not allow parents to go in the back with their children at the dentist's office. And I said, this is not acceptable. This is not the right thing for us. I need to know what's going on. I can talk to the dentist. I can see how he's doing. I can talk to the hygienist. They know who I am. And it's just better. That way you know really what is going on. So we changed dentists. I advocated for my son in that way. That is advocating. That is making the choices for your child in their best interest. So we have a dentist where I can go in the back, and I can go in the back with him until he's 18 years old. That way I always know, because yet again, we all know as kids get older and become teenagers, just like my husband, they will not remember, they will not know what is said. Then you ask them, what did the doctor say? And you get, I don't know. So I go do that. Also at the orthodontist, I go in the back with him while he does his appointments with him. And then I'm able to sit there and yet again see the hygienist, see the orthodontist, know everything that's going on. I don't have to get anything relayed to me. I hear it from the horse's mouth. I can ask any questions I need at that moment, and it all works out. So, these are things when it comes to your children to make sure that you advocate for. You need to know that advocating is being present. It's not always being pushy. It's not always forcing someone to do things for you. It's you being present and you making the right choices for your child. Then there's also advocating at school. This is also really important. It's yet again being there for your child, being there as a parent, being there as a loved one. Now, my child is 12. He needs to start and has been starting since he was 10 advocating for himself. We have a rule that if something is going on with a teacher or a friend, that he is to discuss it with us at home. We can come up with a game plan, but then he is to go to that teacher and discuss it with the teacher first. He once had an issue with a child when they had to sit at a group table in 4th grade. So my son sat at a group of 4. Because the way the table was arranged, he had to turn his back to the rest of the table to see the whiteboard. There was a child who sat at his table and would always mess with my son's things. My son constantly asked him to stop playing with his things, to leave it alone, and it wasn't fair because my son could not see what was going on because his back was turned. And it frustrated him to no end, and this child just would not listen to him, and it just kept happening and happening and happening. And so finally, we came up with an idea at home. When we brought it up, we said, well, maybe we need to change seats. And of course, most kids go by what their teachers say. And if this is their assigned seat, they'll say, but I have assigned seats. I can't change seats. What do I do? And I said, okay, so you need to go to her and say, you need to change seats with this other child because you have asked him repeatedly to stop playing with your things. And you need to come up with the solution when you go talk to her. So you need to say, I need to switch seats because this is the reason why. Is it possible for him and I to just swap seats? He, the child who kept messing with my son's things, could sit with his back turned to the table to see the whiteboard, and my son could be in his seat facing the whiteboard. That way, my son's not frustrated. He went to the teacher, he brought up the solution, said what was going on, and she totally appreciated that it came from him, that he came with an answer. It wasn't just, I don't know what to do, help me fix this. So the advocating started with us at home with a game plan, but he went to the teacher and advocated for himself. So that to the teacher said, oh, I don't have to deal with a parent who is always complaining. Because believe me, teachers don't want to hear from parents saying, why does my kid have to do this? Or why can't he switch seats with so-and-so? Doesn't work that way. They don't want to hear it. Have your kid talk to the teacher themselves. The second part of this is the fact that I have personally told my son he needs to talk to the teacher first. If things still are happening that he has talked to his teacher about and they're not being resolved, then that is when I get involved with the teacher. That is when I am present with the teacher. And then if it still doesn't happen, then we move up the ladder. So my son has a teacher who is very old school. She has the belief that children should go to the bathroom before class and to not leave class to go to the bathroom. That they are now in middle school, they need to know when they have to use the restroom and when they don't, and how to manage their time between classes and lunch. And those are the times when you can use the restroom. I told my son, if you need to go to the restroom, you go to the restroom. Now, with that being said, I have also told him that if he can hold it and it's not an emergency, then maybe wait till the end of class. But if it is an emergency and she says no, then I've given him the permission to leave class, go to the bathroom. When he comes back, if there is a problem, then I personally will be involved. I will get involved. She can call me or I will call her and I will take care of it. That is not his fight to fight. That is my fight to fight because that is advocating for my child. And no one should be told not to go to the bathroom. If I were told not to go to the bathroom, I would be in trouble a lot of the times. So these are the things that come with being an advocate. Like I said, you're firm but nice. You're not pushy. And you make friends. Make friends with the teachers. Make friends with the doctors. Make friends with the nurses. Make friends with the girls who help your loved ones take a shower. Believe me, I'm sure they feel that a lot of the times, especially at assisted living, they are overlooked, feel like no one appreciates what they're doing, but we really do. And you need to show your appreciation to those people by being nice, making their jobs easier, and being present. Also, being present also says that you're an advocate. So, being present at different times of the day at assisted living, showing up, talking to people, making sure that people know that you are coming there regularly, that you are not coming at the regular times, that you are there at different times of the day, different days, all those kinds of things. That is being an advocate. That is showing that you are present and knowledgeable and that you will be there to help your loved one at any time. So I hope after listening to this, you have learned that being an advocate is someone who is firm but nice, not too pushy, but you will get your point across and that others know that you will always be there for your loved ones, whether that is your elderly parent, whether that is your husband or wife, whether that is your child. These are super important things for people to know about you and for your loved ones to know about you because they need to know that you are always there behind them. You are always their supporter and that you will always show up when needed. So I hope that this also helps you stand up for your loved ones. If you have wondered how to do it, or you're not sure if you should do it, are you overstepping your bounds? Are you being too pushy? Maybe take the pushiness back a little bit, but it will let people know that you are there and that you are standing up for the people that you love. So, thank you so much for listening to Sandwich Stories. I hope you learned some things. I hope that it gives you the courage to do what you need to do and that you're an advocate. You are there for your loved ones. So get out there, be an advocate, stand up for them, stand up for the little ones, and I hope you have a really great day. Thank you so much for listening to Sandwich Stories. I really hope you learned some new things and enjoyed it. If you did, tell a friend, tell your mom, tell your sister, tell your dad, tell everybody you know to also listen. Maybe they'll learn some new things, how to help each other out, and find us at Sandwich Stories Podcast. Thanks so much.